Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold should be out by October. And it's also known as the Google Pixel Fold 2, or at least that's what we thought it was going to be called, but the latest rumors are saying Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold. And there are a bunch of things that I would love to see improved on that phone coming from the Google Pixel Fold. So I'm gonna get you a list of things that I think should definitely be improved. First thing I wanna see changed on the Pixel 9 Pro is I do not want it to be as wide feeling as the Pixel Fold. This feels so wide, especially compared to the competition. It makes it feel kind of awkward in a way, especially when jumping from the OnePlus Open to the Galaxy Z Fold 5, and then back to this phone. In terms of, again, the inside display, I'm pretty much okay with the outside display, but the inside display just feels so wide, and it really only feels kind of normal when you set it in this orientation. And a lot of apps should be in this orientation if you want to use them kind of normally, because at this orientation, they are just too wide and they seem almost stretched out in a way. Here's the Galaxy Z Fold 5, which feels wonderful in your hand, and it is almost like the perfect size for a inside display. So even though the Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold has a bigger inside and outside displays, it would just be nice if it didn't feel kind of as awkward as the regular Pixel Fold. Speaking of the inside display, the bezels, they need to get trimmed down massively. They don't bother me all that much, I'll admit. So if they keep them the same, I'm not gonna be like, deal breaker, don't want it. It's really an aesthetics thing. It needs to look cooler, sexier, more modern, slim down the bezels, compete with your competition in that regard. We can get nice, smaller, smoother, smaller bezels. But again, it's not a game changer breaker for me, but if you go to like a black screen, you don't really notice anything. And to be fair, the cameras do lie at the top in there, so they do have some functionality built into them, but it's still, I wouldn't mind if they just put the displays on top of the display. It doesn't bother me at all, like the way Samsung does it. And if they have to keep the cameras up there and they have to keep a bezel, it's just tiny that baby down. Brighter displays, especially outdoors. Now, this has a pretty bright display, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like this, you can't see this outdoors. You totally can. But once the Z Fold 5 came out and the OnePlus Open came out, and then the S24 Ultra, which again is a candy bar phone, those phones just make this look kind of bad outdoors. It's kind of hard to see, especially against the competition. So they really need to up the ante in that regard and put the brightness into another stratosphere. I think they will. I just hope it's a big change from what we got with the Pixel Fold. This is probably one of the main things I dislike about this phone, is that it doesn't lay flat. It's crooked, and hopefully you can see that it's crooked. It's always been like that since day one. They're not gonna change it. In terms of this generation, you can't fix it. So you're left with this kind of crooked display. When you hold it, it's kind of almost at an angle. It's like, instead of laying 180 degrees flat, it's laying at like 178 degrees flat. I've had Galaxy Z Fold phones in the past that did something similar after a period of time, but these ones do it right now, and they always do it. Another physical thing about this Pixel Fold, it's heavy. It's heavier than the competition. They have to get the weight down. Thing needs to go on a diet. Put it on the carnivore diet. Get this weight down. Make it better that way. It's gonna, we always want thinner, slimmer, bigger batteries, better battery life, more performance. We're asking for a lot. I understand that. But at the same time, this doesn't have a massively huge battery versus the competition. It's either equal or less or close to. There isn't a huge difference, so I don't understand why this phone is so heavy versus what you can get with a Z Fold 5 versus a OnePlus Open versus some other, Chinese manufactured folding phone. It needs to get its weight down. It needs to go on a diet, and hopefully we'll see that with the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. The next thing I really want is just better performance. Now, performance on this day-to-day has been amazing. It's fast, it's fluid, day-to-day stuff is awesome. No problems at all. The problem you're gonna run into is if you're a gamer, you can still game on the AAA titles, the high-end game, you can do it, but you usually play it at medium settings. And then also when you're doing high-end work, maybe video editing, maybe photo editing, things that take a lot of horsepower, this isn't gonna compete as well versus a Galaxy Z Fold 5 versus a OnePlus Open. And they are releasing the Pixel 9 Pro Fold later in the year, so it has the Tensor G4. This has the Tensor G2, so it's going to be 2 generations more powerful. Tensor G3 didn't show a lot of difference in raw benchmarks versus the Tensor G2. Hopefully we'll see some massive gains with the Tensor G4. I personally don't think we're going to see any huge gains, so I think AAA gaming, high-end gaming, stuff like that on here is still going to be just okay. Medium type settings, and if you play it at high-end settings, you're going to see stutter and lag or ultimately lower frame rates, but it can do all that stuff. Sometimes you just have to tone down the stuff. So I'd like to see, hoping anyway, the Tensor G4 really kicks some butt and can compete with the big boys when the Galaxy comes out with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 4, and also the OnePlus Open 2 will have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 4. Now the cameras aren't bad on this phone. I cannot say they're bad at all. I've taken some nice photos, some nice videos, but could it be improved? Yes, it could. It has basically Pixel 7 cameras-esque. So, you can get these things better. We're gonna be at Pixel 9 and you're calling it an Ultra phone. I highly believe they're gonna throw Pixel 9 Pro cameras in here. They're calling it a Pro. Can't imagine they're gonna put anything less than that. So that's great news. I think this one will come to fruition. I think we will see better cameras on this and cameras that compete with what they personally put out. And I almost always love the cameras that Pixel puts out, especially the high-end stuff. Great photos, good solid video, great microphones. So I have high hopes they're gonna put out something really nice for this phone. I've never been a fan of their buttons. It's almost like Nintendo. When you're using a Nintendo button, the A and B buttons are kind of switched versus what you'd get on like a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox. I hate it that the volume button, power button is at the bottom and the power button's at the top. It's like switched versus what almost everybody else does that I can think of. I wouldn't even mind if they had I guess they can't put it on the other side because they hinge, but just flip, and they're not gonna flip them most likely. They're probably gonna keep it the same way, but it would have been nice if they could flip them and make them just like everybody else. Because every time I go from this phone to another phone, I always forget that the power button's at the top. It's just more of an annoyance, not a game-changing thing that I would not buy the phone for. And then the last thing being price. It's an expensive device. It's like $1,800. I would love to see them get this cheaper. When people think Pixel, especially when they see the Pixel 9, 9 Pro, 9 Pro XL, those phones are probably gonna still be under $1,200 starting. And that's a very competitive price. And then you have this phone that's potentially probably gonna still be $1,800. I'd love to see them get this in at $1,500. Fingers crossed that happens. But those are the things that I would really like change. Of course, I'd like to see faster charging. That's obviously a no-brainer on here. But everything else is pretty good. The build quality seems good. The software has gotten a lot better. Could it still be improved, especially if you're coming from a Samsung phone and you want all that customization? Yes, but I don't even think it's worth talking about because I don't think they're going to do anything like that. But it has been improved since they've released this, and the Pixel 9 Pro Fold will have a lot of those improvements as well. But again, don't expect any crazy customizations, and let me know what your thoughts are. What do you want to see changed and improved on the Pixel 9 Pro coming from the Pixel Fold? Have a great day. We'll see you down the road. Peace.